Easter Saturday 1960 in Bristol, the final show on the final night. Eddie and Jean were so keen to go home they booked a hire car to take them back to London that night. The show ended around 10:30. Jill Gullick, a 15-year-old fan, was backstage in the dressing room with Sharon Sheeley and remembers Eddie's impatience.
Eddie Cochran came off the stage and he took off his glasses, threw them against the wall, and he said, "Thank God that's over, we're going back to the States." They were glad they were going back home. They picked up their luggage, they changed. The car was waiting outside. We all left together. Sharon said to me, "Come up to Heathrow and see us off." And I said, "No, I don't think my parents would appreciate me staying out so late." So I just saw the car drive towards the centre and all the fans were crowding round it as it drove down.
It was a foggy night in England, the day before Easter. Eddie, Jean, and myself were in a hired car on our way to London Airport. The chauffeur told us it would take 8 hours to get to the airport. We were all too tired to take the train. We thought it would be much more comfortable sitting in the back seat of that car.
A Ford Consul, I believe, driving up the A4. We had no motorway. Too fast through Chippenham on the A4, and I believe a series of sweeping bends, and he lost control, and the back end side, right side rear, hit a concrete lamppost, and that was where Eddie was sitting.
My next memory was just coming to on some wet, damp grass out in a cow pasture where we'd all been thrown from the car.
We heard the crash. My parents immediately went down to the mainland. Now I followed later on, but by the time I'd got there, they'd been taken to hospital and things were being cleared up. But I know exactly the spot where the lamppost was they hit. The lamppost was broken and it was about 3-4 feet from the ground. The car was in the road, yes, laying on its side. Yeah.
No one had told Vince Eager about the crash, which had happened just before midnight on Saturday. So on Sunday morning, he checked in as planned at Heathrow to catch the lunchtime flight to the States with Eddie. Larry Parnes got hold of him and told him to get to the hospital in Bath.
I was the first one there, nobody else from Parnes or anywhere. They said, "Oh, you better go through to the reception area," where a consultant came in, explaining what had happened and that Eddie was very, very poorly. He wasn't expected to live, but if he did, they anticipated that he would have the mind of a child of 4. Jean was okay, he'd damaged his shoulder blade, but he should be able to leave the next day. And that was that. So I went out, and by the time I got outside, there was Larry Parnes, Billy Fury, Dickie Pride, and a couple of the other guys. The press had now come, and Larry said to the press, "This is ironic because Eddie's next record is 3 Steps to Heaven." And I said, "No, it's not. That's a B-side. His next record is Cut Across Short." He said, "No, it isn't." And Larry had flipped it there and then. Eddie was still alive at 2:10 when I left the hospital. And there's Larry saying his next record is 3 Steps to Heaven. The guy was still alive. And that's what upset me more than anything. And I knew why he was doing it for publicity, and he got it.
Eddie was pronounced dead at 4 o'clock.
I heard over the radio. I went, "Oh no."
Monday morning, somebody rang us at home and said that Eddie's dead. Yeah, I said, "No, you're kidding me."
His death went virtually unreported back home in America. 2 weeks later, the single was released in the UK. 3 Steps to Heaven, one of the other songs he recorded on the eve of his trip to the UK. By June, it had reached number 1, Eddie's first chart topper. Sometime later, Gene Vincent paid this touching tribute to Eddie.
He was more or less like a brother to me. We hung around together and we went, almost every place together. And when we were in England, we traveled almost constantly together. I think if you could have met him, you'd have liked him very much.
In the years that followed, Eddie has been largely forgotten in his homeland, but not in the UK, where his records continue to sell. And his music has been kept alive by a host of top-name acts.
He was the first of the guitar heroes. Other people might carry a guitar around their neck, but he was the first one to really play.
It was something that Britain never had. He turned us upside down.
And Alice, his mother, always thought Britain had in return given something back to her son.
Eddie was not very impressed with himself. I think he underrated himself. But he was determined that he was going to be a star someday. And I think he made it in England.